Hi, I'm Jennifer with Robert Myers Insurance Agency. We are here in our office today and we are having a conversation with Joe, the mold guy, located out of Burton, Ohio, and he is going to talk to us about his business. And for those of you who have been following us, or not following us, we are doing a featured business each month on our Facebook page to introduce you to some of the local businesses. And again, this is Joe the Mold Guy, and I'm going to let him tell a little bit about himself and what he does, and then we'll go from there. Hi, Joe.
How are you? Very good. I'm Joe Ruska with the Mold Guy. So I've been in the business about 10 years, a little more than 10 years, and I started this business just over a year ago. And basically, when I worked for another mold abatement company for years and years and years, there's some certain things you just can't do with mold, and you've got to cover all the bases. And basically, because it's a living being, you've got to take care of it appropriately, because if you don't, you're just going to come back and do it again. Mm-hmm. And especially with our warranty, it's a 10-year transferable warranty. You really don't cut any corners. It's got to be done right. It's got to be done the first time properly. So you just go from there. It's just no cutting corners. And we had seen that. In fact, I know employees from other mold abatement companies, and they did the exact same thing, or were doing the same things. I mean, like big companies, you see they have commercials on TV. And you say, ooh, that's a big company, And they were doing the exact same thing that we were doing. But I'm pretty particular. And you've got to start from the beginning, and it's got to be done right all the way through. Otherwise, you're just going to come back and do it again.
So you said you've been doing this for about 10 years. What attracted you to mold remediation?
Probably because the job that I had before that, when I was in union construction, mm-hmm. and that is a younger person's game. That is the most difficult work you can do. And so during that construction time, you're always laid off. When the job is over, you're laid off. Everyone knows that. So I met an individual, that said, "Hey, I've got a mold abatement company. You want to work while you're laid off?" I said, "Sure." And so I started working with him, and basically I paid my union dues and I kept my book up, but I worked for this mold abatement company, and it was so much better, so much less stress, so much less mm-hmm. difficult work. Physically demanding. So I kind of once I got to that point where I said, okay, this is way less stressful, way less dangerous, I said, you know what, I'm just going to continue on with this. And I stuck with it, and I stayed with him for just over 8 years, 8.5 years, mm-hmm. before I kind of went out on my own. So it worked out pretty well.
Okay, and at what point did you decide that you liked this type of work?
Well, that's a tough one. It was pretty early on, I would say. Mm-hmm. It was an early decision, and it was easy, simply because when I got into the union, I thought, man, this is going to be great. I'm going to stand on a shovel, and I'm going to collect a great retirement, and that was certainly not the case. I mean, it was more like you were in the military, or there was a drill instructor in your ear all day, mm-hmm. and it was go, 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 and they were just literally screaming in my ear all day. Mm-hmm. And after about a year, I said, it's probably going to lighten up. And then after 2 years, it didn't. And after 3 years, and they're still screaming in your ear, yeah. That made the decision really easy uh-huh. to get out of the business. Uh-huh. So, and it just it rolled right over from there, and really never looked back. Mm-hmm. I kept my retirement and my annuity, but it was an easy choice. It really was. Way less stressful. It's a little more technical, and in union construction, there's no dealing with other individuals other than the people you're working with. But right. So I'm basically a people person. Right. So you're dealing with customers all day instead of other employees. Mm-hmm. So that made it easy too, because I'm a likable person, mm-hmm. and I can build a rapport with customers.
Say yes, you are, Joe.
Right. so it was pretty easy.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
It really was.
So when you go out to somebody's home, what are you looking for? What would be the initial phone call that a homeowner would make to you, or concern that they would bring to you?
Normally, what it would be is pretty much everything that we do is a house that's being sold, or somebody just recently bought the home, and the inspection report comes back with mold someplace in the house. Probably 90% of the time it's in the attic. It's either in the attic or the basement. Because basically, people that have a clean house isn't going to have mold. You know, you have mold because you've got a water issue. You know, you've got either water penetration through the basement, lack of ventilation in the attic, and that's the biggest thing. Is I see attics all the time, even with new construction, not enough ventilation, and not enough ventilation, not enough enough insulation. That's a terrible thing. It's a great recipe for mold in the attic.
Okay.
It really grows fast. So because the material's outside when it's being built, we know that mold is everywhere all the time. There's mold right here, right now. You can't see it because it's microscopic.
You know that freaks me out.
It really is. You could do
Lysoling after you leave.
No, don't worry about it. So not having enough ventilation in the attic is huge, and probably 90% of the homes I've been in, 90+%, there's mold in the attic because of that. Or it's improperly vented bath fans. So that's a big thing. Bath fans, insulation, ventilation.
And then, what do you do when you go out, when you've done the estimate, gone over it with the people, and making them feel secure that they don't have huge issues?
Right. Well, basically, the issue is it's
do?
more along the lines, say, in the attic, for instance, it's not an issue of health, really, because it doesn't have the ability to, it doesn't have tentacles where it can lift your attic hatch out and climb down into living space. It's not coming into living space.
Right.
And even if you spend time in there in the attic, you know, with storage and whatnot, you know, it's a time-weighted average, how long you're exposed and how much you're exposed to. It's more of an issue of it consuming your roof, because that's what it's doing. You know, when you see mold growth, that means the mold has found a suitable living environment, and it's physically consuming that surface that it's on. So if it's in the attic on your sheathing, it is literally delaminating the plywood and consuming the plywood of your roof. So that's where the issue is. And then, you know, you just go from there with the customers. You know, what do you want to have done with it? Obviously, you want to kill the mold, you know, and get rid of it. So then there's options of how to take that away.
So, what type of things do homeowners need to be aware of and think about if they were to call you? Like, what things in their house could they just walk away from? But then other things that might be like, Joe, you really need to come out and take a look at this mold issue.
Yeah, and it goes back to the inside of the house. When the house is clean, usually you don't have an issue. And it always stems from a water issue, high humidity, or say in the basement. When you don't have to have a water leak in the basement. You can have a high humidity level, and it'll naturally grow on the belongings in the basement or your carpet.
Right.
A lot of people have carpet in the basement, and I just don't see that. A finished basement with finished walls and carpet, in the long run, there's going to be an issue with water penetration someplace, and you won't know until it's too late. And then now your drywall is going to be taken out, possibly your carpet, and people put that right back in there. And then sometimes the issue isn't taken care of because of the outside of the house.
Right.
And now you've got the issue on the inside. And sometimes it's the contents. Bring contents into the home or the basement and let it sit. And if you've got a high humidity level, that the mold, it just sporulates and it grows from there.
Didn't you? I thought you told me something you shouldn't bring into a house. Do you remember that conversation? What were we talking about?
There's a lot of things like your shoes.
Oh, the shoes.
Shoes shouldn't go in closets.
Right.
Shoes should not go in closets.
Tell them why.
Well, you leave it sit there and you say, well, I'm not going to wear that particular pair of boots or shoes.
Right.
And after a few months, you'll go back in there and those shoes are going to be very moldy, and it's just going to transfer right to the next. They're right on down the line. If you've got belts that hang in the closet,
so it just kind of hops from one place
belts
to
will
another.
get moldy. Yeah, it's kind of funky.
What about like old books? If you were storing,
of course,
like,
yeah.
old
There's certain
books.
molds that like books.
Uh-huh.
So that's where you get that musty smell from.
Okay.
You know, books can be cleaned if they're really bad and they're really valuable. Then you want to clean them. But if they're not valuable,
Just let them
pitch it. Yeah, because it's expensive to clean books. You know, if you're getting into like ice blasting of books, that can get pretty costly.
And let's talk for a minute about the different storms that come through our area and when people's basements flood. At what point would they need to contact you, or could you give them some steps that homeowners can take on their own before they make that call to secure their property?
Yeah, if you've got a low level water flooding, usually you can do it yourself. You know, if you dry it out as fast as possible, you know, within 1, 2, 3 days, if you get it dried out, you know, you have to have a dehumidifier and fans. I think it's every 14 linear feet for that is what you're supposed to have. But if you can get that dried out very, very quickly, then you won't have as much of an issue. But if it's going to be, if that carpet stays wet for a couple days, then you're in a serious issue. But at that point, your insurance you may be able to make a claim with your insurance because of a water backup. You know, I'm not sure. You know, obviously it depends on what kind of insurance you have. But they may cover X amount. You know, whether they say 5 or 10,000. But that could be an option too.
But that's again where the mold can just kind of start leaking everywhere. And again, it's the inside of your house that it's affecting.
And as far as basements go, even today, when I had my normal meeting, and I tell people that when you own a home, you should have basic instruments that tell you what's going on in your house. And a hygrometer is a perfect one for your basement to tell you what your humidity is. You know, like the little weather station you have on your wall. You can have one in the basement that tells you what your relative humidity is. And also, you can get handheld moisture meters. So if you see something on your wall and you think that, man, maybe that might be a water leak, you can take the moisture meter and see. And if it is, now you know you've got an issue. So, and the first thing would be to correct that. So if the water's coming in from the outside, that has to be corrected before I can fix the inside. Because if the water keeps coming in, the mold's just going to keep coming back.
So this concludes our conversation with Joe, the mold guy, soon to be mold guys.
Correct.
And Joe, can you tell our audience how they would get in touch with you, and then also how far out into the Cleveland area or surrounding areas you would typically go?
Sure. As far as the area goes, that's all of northern Ohio basically. We've worked in Marblehead, Ashtabula, down past Akron. So basically it's all of northern Ohio. Phone number is 440-739-0605. And you can text on there also. We get a lot of texts from people. Yes, it does. Some people do not want to talk on the phone. I don't know why, but that's okay. Some people want to email. So the email is really simple. It's themoldguys@yahoo.com.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. And that concludes our conversation with Joe.